Patrick Watson. He's the superintendent over at the Bloomfield Hills School District. Superintendent, I like your new backdrop today.
Good morning. I appreciate it. Allows me to be anywhere in the world I want to be.
I will say, as we continue into this crisis, seeing how everyone's learning to navigate Zoom so that we can change the background, it's like everyone's up in their game now.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity with Zoom, WebEx, Teams, Google Meet, some old-fashioned FaceTime occasionally for some of the parents and students that need to check in on. But yeah, definitely getting used to all the technology. And, a lot of it, I actually think it's here to stay. I attended a PTO meeting that had over 100 people in attendance via Zoom. You would never get that kind of turnout in a building. So I think school will not go back the way it used to be, and things will be different. And I think that's a positive.
Out of every crisis does come some positivity. So that is a good thing because we're all learning to be more engaged. And on that topic, I will say going into this next election, I think people are really going to start paying much more closer attention to the people that are on the ballot when it comes to our schools and issues surrounding schools. Because before, especially on the colleges, the board of trustees, people of that nature, you were like, eh, that name looks familiar. So I think really people understand now these local elections really do matter.
They really do. I pay a little attention to not just locally, for example, who's running for school board in Bloomfield Hills and positions, Oakland County and nationally. But, my main focus are students. Yes, I'm employed by the Board of Education, but at the end of the day, my real responsibility is to the students. And that's what I need to keep my focus on. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters to me. So we might get a new president, we might not. We're definitely getting new school board members, but what remains a constant are our students. And our students need our support. Especially, with COVID and everything going on, our students are counting on the adults more than ever to do their job and do it at a high level. So our goal is to make sure we live up to our students' expectations because if we've taken care of them, at the end of the day, that's all that really matters.
And let's talk about the students. You're, a few weeks into this now in the new school year. How are things going? Because the students are pretty lucky. They are attending one of the best public school districts in the entire state of Michigan. What a blessing for them to be able to be a part of your school district. But I would imagine you guys have your challenges just like everyone else.
We do. Our schedule's crazy. So we are back pre-K through 12 using three different hybrid models. So we've got one for special ed, one K through 8, and one 9 through 12. Really trying to accommodate our students based on the needs they have. We know it's never a one size fits all. So, the different amount of bus runs and different stops and different lunch schedules in different buildings, it's been kind of chaotic. But the students I've spoken to are definitely happy to be back. They like being in person. We know we followed every potential safeguard possible, down to even the cleaning supplies, using a natural cleaning supply in the classroom that is actually safe enough for you to spray on food and eat to make sure that our students that are coming in contact with it don't have any type of unnecessary reactions, not a harsh chemical. So we've really, tried to pay attention to all the small details that'll make a big difference for our students and making sure we can accommodate them in the safest way possible as they return to school.
How's the technology side? While you are, on the upper end of the economic standard for the state of Michigan, I would imagine there's still some issues with connecting virtually for some of these students. Sometimes you just don't have a good Wi-Fi signal in your house or like in your certain room or a position of your house or we've even had it happen to us here in the studio where something will just drop in the middle of an interview. So you're in the middle of the class and you're like, oh, lost signal. How are those issues being ironed out?
Well, first, we all need to understand it's going to happen. I was at a board meeting about a month ago and my computer froze. And I was right in the middle of a presentation and it actually was at a key moment. And a board member asked me a key question and I disappeared for 10 minutes. Great for me because I didn't have to answer it. But for whoever person got stuck trying to pick up the pieces afterwards. We have students that have had some difficulty with Wi-Fi. So either we provided a booster or a hotspot. And for some students, we've worked out a deal with the cable company so that they can just have a direct line so that they're able to have, internet that is not as interrupted as it might have been. Computer-wise, we're in pretty good shape. We've been able to either repair or get Chromebooks and iPads out to just about everyone. And then at the high school, we're doing things a little bit differently. So we ordered about 70 or 80 different monitors so that the teachers could have their smartboard and monitor their laptop, because we have students that will either be attending in person or remoting in during the week, 4 days a week. So if your day is to come in Monday and Tuesday under the high school plan, and you decide you want to stay home Monday because you're not feeling well, or you want to work from home that day, you can simply remote in. So we've really increased the technology. We've given our students the ultimate flexibility. You can attend 4 days a week online, or you can attend 2 days a week online, 2 days in person, or 1 day in person and 3 online. So they have access to their teacher live 4 days a week. And the other reason we did that is we surveyed our students, and the number one request they had was, we want to keep our Bloomfield Hills teachers, we want to keep our classes. I heard from so many juniors and really the senior classes said, Mr. Watson, I've waited 4 years to take this class, this elective, this AP, this IB. We really don't want our own, separate school, because we want the classes we signed up for. It's a priority for us. And if we can get nothing else because of COVID, can we just do that? And so beyond excited, the teachers stepped up and said they'd find a way to make it work. No one went to college getting trained to teach people in person and online. And yeah, will there be some difficulties that occur? Absolutely. Are the students ecstatic that they get to keep their class schedule and work with the Bloomfield Hills teachers that they've come to know and love? Absolutely. Will we find a way to make it work and make it work really well? Absolutely. And at the end of the day, who wins? The kids win. So we're really happy about that.
Bloomfield Hills School Superintendent Pat Watson joining us today on the Oakland County Megacast all throughout the local area. So, Pat, with the relative success that's been had with this model of teaching during this pandemic, are there any plans in the near or distant future this semester or later on in the school district to go back to a quote-unquote normal method of schooling, or continue this on even beyond the pandemic, this certain format, or are you going to stick with this format as it is for the remainder of this school year for the long haul as the pandemic continues to be addressed locally and nationwide?
Well, we're doing two things. We're planning forward and planning backward. Let me tell you what I mean by that. As far as planning backward, if cases get too high or we need to shut down the full remote, we need to be ready to do that in a short turnaround time. As far as planning forward, we're looking at what would it look like if we brought everyone back starting K through 8, because our configurations aren't the traditional K5, 6, 8. They're K3, K4 buildings, and then 4, 8, and 5, 8 buildings. And what would that look like? Looking at the metrics that we adopted from Harvard, looking at the case rate, which we know we've been in yellow for over 100 days, but then the test positive rate, we've been in yellow for about 17, 18 days. Once we get to 21 days in yellow, that means we're fully in that band, and that allows us to look at different options. Planning these things out, as you can imagine, takes tons of time, but we want to make sure that when it's time and the data supports it, we can either move forward or we can move backward and do it in a short period of time.
I love that you're thinking like that, and that is a good way to put it, especially to the parents and to the students. It simplifies it, although it's not a simple problem. But I wonder, too, does it do more harm if you move forward and then have to quickly move all the way back? Is it easier for the kids to get into some type of routine in this hybrid method for a while, even if the data down the road suggests it is okay to go back into the buildings?
So one of the things we established with our community quite a while ago is that when we're going to make a significant change, if it's moving forward, we'll make sure there's a minimum of a 2-week notice. I mean, teachers need to prepare, staff needs to prepare, the building configurations would need to change, bus routes need to change. I mean, the cleaning routines need to change. I mean, there's so much to it. So it wouldn't be a snap decision like, okay, today's Monday, On Friday, we're moving forward with our plan. When it comes to moving back, we will have to pivot in a short period of time. By short period of time, I mean 24 hours. If we see an explosion in a building as far as case rate, if we see a situation where, the governor has moved us back to phase three, we can't all of a sudden say, okay, we're going back to remote, and 2 weeks from now, we'll kind of get everyone back up to speed. And we just can't do that to our community, and we can't do that to our students. So if it's moving backwards, it will be a short period of time. If it's moving forward, there'll be a 2-week notice. But you need to have the plans in place. It takes months, believe it or not, to plan every single detail of what's going to happen. Make sure you have a chance to be successful with it. And so that's why you have to continue to plan. I'm so used to, and this is my 26th year in education, that you work all summer, you get your plan, and then you execute your plan when the school year starts because you planned it. I've never experienced something where you're constantly, continually planning. You're never done with plan. Even with the hybrid model we have right now, we are still working and tweaking it as we plan forward and plan backwards.
Right. What's so hard to is I would imagine, like, in your mind, you're thinking, okay, A, B, C, D, and E. You're dotting your I's, crossing your T's, and then something comes up that you didn't anticipate or throws everything you did think out the window, and you're starting over. And I wonder, like, the amount of time that people such as yourself and all of your coworkers and the other school districts are being focused on this problem has to be taken away from some of the other things you would much rather be doing.
Yes and no. Those other things are still getting done. I know we're been implementing our strategic plan. We're working on what our bond needs to do. But unfortunately, what happens is you only have so many hours during the day, and so your work day basically becomes a 17 or 18-hour day. And for which is a huge ask, right? When you're asking people in the middle of a crisis and things like that, it's a huge ask. So everyone's really stepped up and really made the best of an impossible situation. And you kind of have to embrace the challenge. You got to think of it that it's going to be fun, believe it or not, because it's the ultimate puzzle and to see if you can solve it. And people, I'm so proud of the way people have been able to just change on a dime. For example, we spent months building a virtual high school, months. We had all these online classes and Canvas all ready to roll, loaded with all the content for the full year ready to go. And at the last second, we said, you know what? We're not going to have a virtual high school. We're going to let students remote in, have them keep their schedule, have them keep their teachers. So that work doesn't go to waste. Next year we'll have the opportunity for our students to take fully online classes that are taught by Bloomfield's teachers. So it hasn't gone to waste, but then we had a short turnaround time to figure out what it's going to look like for students to remote into the classroom, what technology are we going to need, what training are we going to need for teachers. And so you kind of have to just kind of go with the flow. There's no right answer, and there's typically not the best practice. And so we've tried to lean on what is the safest practice going to be.
I think back, for us, we say to the kids in the newer generation, when I was your age, I had to walk 20 blocks in the snow, uphill, one way. Now they're going to say, I lived through 2020's COVID-19. What are their stories going to be, right?
Yeah, I've got 3 seniors in my house, 3 kids, 2 seniors in college and a senior in high school. And she will definitely have stories to tell. And, I can't compare. When I graduated high school in the 80s, we didn't have to deal with any of this. My biggest problem was, could I sneak out of the building and get downtown Ann Arbor and back before the end of the school day and not get marked absent? That was my stressor. It's a lot different now. There's a lot on the students and what they have to do and the procedures and protocols. And really their whole life has been turned upside down. So as much as possible for those that are turning in-person learning, we're trying to create some sense of normalcy and really focus on taking care of not just their academic needs, but their mental health needs as well.
Oh, that's so important. So important. So while we have you on with us just a couple more minutes, how high school sports is back. How's it going for you guys?
Going fairly well. We're starting to close back up as well. Again, when students come to school, typically there are 4 things that they're really passionate about, or one of 4. It's either academics, activities, the fine arts, or athletics. So within those 4 A's, typically the students have something that they really enjoy. So we're trying to make sure that, yeah, athletics are back, but what are we going to do for our fine arts students? What are we going for our students that are involved in activities? What about our students that are really passionate about academics? To make sure we provide the same type of oversight and diligence in getting the other groups up and running to do what they want and not just focus on athletics. So with the change to MHSAA, as far as how many people can actually be in a stadium, gives the opportunity for our band to participate, which is great. We're looking at what we can do as far as theater. So we're really, robotics is starting back up. So we want to make sure we give the students that are passionate in different areas the same opportunities that athletics would have.
Pat Watson with us. He is the superintendent of the Bloomfield Hills School District with us today on the Oakland County MegaCast. Pat, just another minute or so with you before we let you go. As of now, we're still a ways away from this, but hoping not to get into a similar situation that we had late in the previous school year due to the pandemic. Have there been any initial discussions about should this continue on through the remainder of the school year, how the school district will address certain traditions and rites of passage such as graduation, commencement, and prom and so on?
Yeah, that planning will start second semester. We're really looking at, for what activities and events should we have. For example, one of the traditions Bloomfield Hills High School is to have the senior pancake breakfast. That still took place. It just took place in the parking lot. Last night, the seniors painted the rock, a tradition. Again, social distancing. Students have a mask on. They were still able to go out and do it. So we want to keep those traditions as much as possible. While they might feel and look a little bit different, it's still important, if we can do them safely, to continue doing them. So that's part of the planning forward I talked about.
What about homecoming?
So looking at what options we may have. Again, can't really dance unless you're 6 feet apart, so
Right.
That makes it a little more difficult. So we're looking at what different spins we might be able to put on that. Great team at the high school that is reviewing all those different things. And, I think back to our drive-in graduation. And a lot of, parents and students were stressed. Is it really going to feel like a graduation? Is it going to feel like a celebration? Is it going to be enjoyable? We've never done it. The feedback then, and the feedback that continues now, is they really enjoyed the drive-in graduation. And it was a great time, to hear their name called and move to the next step in life. It was just a great experience. So some new traditions might also be born out of this. And that's good. Change is good.
It can be. The only thing constant in life is change. Superintendent Watson, anything we didn't touch on that you want to share with your viewers and listeners there at the school district?
Just thank you to everyone, the warm reception. I know for me, I've had the ability to reconnect now with over 40 of my former students that either teach or live in the district. So it's like, wow, I haven't seen you since 1998, and now you're late 30s and have 4 kids. But wow, things have changed a lot. So
You're not that old, though. They aged, but you did not.
I don't know about that. By 9 o'clock tonight, when I'm asleep on the couch, I have aged. So it's a little bit different, but it's just been so great. And the community's been so nice. And, just like I said, seeing so many of my former students. I took, one picture at Lone Pine. I think it was 5 or 6 of the PTO mothers that are all former students. So it was like, wow, it's just amazing to see everyone grow up and see what they've, been up to and catch up. What have you done from 18 to 36? Fill me in. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, that's so great. By the way, the fact that you mentioned that you skipped school when you were in high school, we caught that. We won't tweet it out, but we did catch it.
Oh, well, please understand, it was different in the 80s. I mean, that's nothing. Well, now if you're at home, what do? Just turn off your camera and go run an errand? I mean, is that skipping school now?
Right.
So it was the supervision in the 80s was a little bit different than it is now, right? So yeah, like everyone, I made mistakes in high school. There were days I should have been there that, maybe I wasn't quite on time, but you live and you learn, and it's part of growing up.
No, you just earned major brownie points with a lot of the students there. We thank you so much for your time. Good luck to you and your entire team over there for the rest of the school year. You guys have been working crazy hours to try to pull all of this off. It's appreciated. It is definitely appreciated.
Well, appreciate it. Have a good day, everyone.